She walked onto the scorching desert parade ground with a calmness that didn't match the chaos happening around her. Soldiers whispered, some chuckled under their breath, and a few even pointed at the strange tattoo on her forearm, a bold, complex mark none of them recognized. To them, she looked like just another rookie who had somehow wandered into a place reserved for the elite. But they had no idea her past was heavier than the sandstorm clouds rolling in behind her, because that tattoo wasn't decoration. It was a symbol almost no one in the world had earned. And the moment the Navy SEAL commander stepped forward, froze, and snapped a sharp salute toward her, everything changed. The laughs died instantly. The whispers stopped. Before we dive in, tell us in comments where in the world you are watching from. The desert sun burned fiercely over the military outpost as the soldiers assembled for morning readiness drills. Dust swirled under their boots, the faint rhythm of marching echoing across the open yard. That's when she appeared, walking calmly toward the formation, her uniform perfectly pressed but unfamiliar. Her presence alone was enough to draw attention. The base did not often receive unannounced arrivals, especially not individuals walking with such quiet confidence. A few soldiers nudged each other, whispering as their eyes fell on the tattoo on her forearm. It was a sharp black insignia unlike anything common. Some laughed under their breath. To them, she looked like a misplaced recruit trying too hard to fit in. Her hair was tied tight, her posture rigid, but her expression was unreadable, as though she had stood on grounds far more dangerous than this desert. The platoon sergeant frowned. "Who is she?" he muttered, but no one had an answer. She stopped a few steps from the formation, scanning the base slowly, not arrogantly, not nervously, just aware, as if every corner, every soldier, every sound told her more than words ever could. "She got lost," one soldier whispered. "Probably some admin replacement," another replied, rolling his eyes. But the tattoo kept drawing their attention. It wasn't decorative. It wasn't random. It had layers, symbols within symbols, sharp angles forming a pattern no one recognized. The more they stared, the more unsettling it felt. She stood silently, waiting. The soldiers kept whispering, chuckling, exchanging looks. Her silence only made them more confident in their assumptions. Assumptions that would crumble within minutes. Because somewhere behind them, the base gate was opening, and a convoy approached. In the lead stood a man whose presence alone caused soldiers to straighten their backs. The SEAL commander, returning from a classified inspection. And within moments, everything the soldiers thought they knew about the woman would be proven wrong. As the formation relaxed while waiting for the commander to approach, a couple of younger soldiers stepped closer to her. They didn't mean outright harm, just the typical rough teasing common in military bases, but ignorance mixed with arrogance is a dangerous combination. "What's that tattoo supposed to be?" one asked with a smirk. "Some kind of comic book badge?" She didn't respond. Her eyes remained straight ahead. "Oh, come on," another laughed. "At least tell us where you got it. Looks like something from a cheap tattoo parlor in town." More soldiers snickered. The sergeant didn't interfere. He assumed she was indeed a junior who had wandered in without proper briefing. Her silence irritated them further. "Hey, new girl," one soldier said louder. "You need to be in the right section. This area is for real operators." Still, she said nothing. Then one soldier reached forward as if trying to poke at the tattoo, perhaps just to mock her reaction. Before he could touch her, she moved her arm aside with a swift, precise motion. Gentle, controlled, but unmistakably trained. The soldier froze mid-gesture. "What was that?" he muttered, suddenly unsure. Another soldier laughed to diffuse the tension. "Relax. She's probably watched too many action movies." But the movement hadn't been theatrical. It was the kind of reflex that only came from real combat experience. Not drills, not training videos, but actual life or death situations. The sergeant finally stepped in. Enough. She's not responding because she's scared. Leave her alone. If only he knew. The woman finally spoke. Just one sentence, in a calm and steady voice. I am here for the commander. The laughter died. For the commander? Someone echoed. Yeah, right. We all are. Another scoffed. Her eyes remained focused on the approaching convoy in the distance. The mockery continued quietly, but the soldiers felt a strange unease creeping in, as if something about her didn't fit the assumptions they had built. They had no idea that in less than a minute, every one of them would stand frozen in disbelief. The rumble of engines drew nearer as the SEAL commander's convoy rolled into the base. Soldiers automatically straightened, fixing their posture and brushing off the dust from their uniforms. Whatever joking mood remained instantly evaporated. The commander stepped out, wearing his crisp uniform, the desert wind pushing lightly against his cap. His stern gaze swept across the formation with the kind of authority that demanded respect without words. Then, he saw her. The moment his eyes landed on her tattoo, his expression shifted. The soldiers didn't notice it at first, but the commander stopped in his tracks, his normally steady breath catching for half a second. One officer beside him whispered, Sir, is something wrong? The commander didn't answer. His gaze locked onto the woman, disbelief slowly transforming into recognition. It was as if he were staring at a ghost, someone long gone, someone few had ever expected to see again. The woman stood firm, her eyes meeting his without hesitation. The desert wind went silent. Then, to the shock of every soldier watching, the commander took a step forward, then another. And then, he raised his hand and gave her a full, formal salute. Not a casual nod, not a polite gesture, a perfect, sharp military salute, reserved only for people of extraordinary honor and unmatched service. The entire formation went rigid. The mocking soldiers' faces drained of color. The sergeant blinked, confused out of his mind. Why was a SEAL commander saluting a woman they thought was a lost recruit? She returned the salute, calmly, precisely, as though she had done it 1,000 times before. The yard fell silent. Nobody moved. Nobody breathed. Because now the question wasn't, who is she? It was, what had she done to earn that salute and that tattoo? The commander lowered his hand and stepped closer to her. I never thought I'd see that insignia again, he said quietly, his voice carrying across the still air. The soldiers watched in stunned silence. The tattoo they mocked was no ordinary symbol. It was the mark of Operation Iron Shield, a covert mission so classified that most military personnel believed it was fiction. Only a handful knew the reality, that it was one of the most dangerous rescue operations in modern history, and that only 3 people survived. The commander spoke loudly now, for everyone to hear. Soldiers, that tattoo represents the highest honor ever awarded in our covert divisions. It belongs to the team that saved 30 captured servicemen in the Kargin Valley, a mission no one thought could succeed. A few soldiers exchanged wide-eyed looks. Sir, the sergeant whispered, those operatives were reported gone. The commander nodded slowly. They were, except one. Every head turned toward the woman. She remained still, her expression unchanged. The desert wind tugged lightly at her sleeve, revealing more of the tattoo, an intricate emblem signifying both a classified rank and extraordinary valor. The commander continued, Ladies and gentlemen, you mocked a symbol you do not understand. This woman was the intelligence specialist who cracked the enemy's containment system, the one who led the escape path, and the one who carried 2 wounded men when the extraction helicopter was shot down. The soldier stood frozen. "She saved my life," the commander said. Gasps spread through the formation. The woman lowered her eyes slightly, uncomfortable with the attention. "I didn't come here for recognition," she said quietly. "I came because you requested my presence." The commander nodded. "Yes, because the new recruits need someone who understands survival better than anyone alive." The soldiers' shame was palpable. The tattoo they laughed at was a mark higher than any medal on their uniforms. And now they understood who she truly was. Silence lingered long after the truth was revealed, broken only by the shifting boots of embarrassed soldiers. The woman glanced at them, not with resentment, but with a calm, almost compassionate expression. The commander addressed the platoon firmly. "You judged her by what you saw, by assumptions, by appearances. That is the first mistake every young soldier makes." The younger soldiers lowered their heads. This woman endured one of the most brutal missions in recorded operations. She lost teammates, carried others, and survived through conditions most of you cannot imagine. And yet, you mocked her. The sergeant swallowed, realizing how wrong he had been. The commander continued, "Remember this. In the field, ranks fade, tattoos fade, uniforms fade. What remains is character, and character is invisible unless you look deeper." The woman stepped forward now, finally speaking to the soldiers directly. "You don't need to fear me," she said gently, "nor respect me because of a tattoo. But you must understand something. Every person you meet has a story you cannot see." Several soldiers shifted uncomfortably, guilt creeping across their faces. She continued, "Out there, the enemy won't care how you look or what patch you wear. What will matter is how well you work together, how well you trust each other." The commander nodded in agreement, which is why she will lead today's survival assessment. The soldiers looked up, startled. Yes, the woman they laughed at was now their instructor. Her voice remained steady. "I won't hold today against you, but I will teach you what nearly cost my team their lives, underestimating others." A heavy silence fell again, this time filled not with shame, but respect. The lesson was clear. Appearances deceive. Experience stays hidden. Heroes don't always walk with medals. Sometimes they walk silently among you. Training began immediately. The soldiers followed her into the desert terrain behind the base, where she demonstrated survival techniques with an ease that left even the sergeant in awe. She moved with precision, economy, and a deep understanding of the environment. "Watch closely," she instructed, showing them how to track wind patterns, how to find water, how to read signs of enemy movement long before any danger approached. Within minutes, the soldiers realized they were witnessing something extraordinary. Not textbook knowledge, but lived experience. Every gesture she made told a story. Every instruction carried the weight of reality. At one point, a young soldier hesitated on a steep incline. She grabbed his wrist firmly, guiding him with surprising strength. "Fear is normal," she said quietly. "Freezing is fatal." Her voice wasn't harsh. It held the tone of someone who had watched fear destroy good soldiers and wasn't willing to let it happen again. By midday, the attitudes of the platoon had changed completely. Where there had been mockery, there was now awe. Where there had been arrogance, there was humility. The sergeant approached her during a short break. "Ma'am, I owe you an apology." She shook her head gently. "Apologies aren't necessary. Growth is." Her words landed heavier than any reprimand. When they returned to the base, the commander awaited them. He looked at his soldiers' faces, tired, dusty, but deeply changed. "How was the training?" he asked. One soldier stepped forward, voice steady. "Sir, we misjudged her. Completely." Another added, We're honored to learn from her. The woman simply nodded. The commander looked at her with respect. Thank you. You've done more today than most training officers accomplish in months. She didn't smile, but her eyes softened. As she prepared to leave, the entire platoon snapped into a full salute, the same salute the commander had given her earlier. This time she accepted it, because respect had been earned, not through badges, not through stories, but through truth.